What's going on, everyone? So, Lauri Markkanen. I really wouldn't hate the idea of the San Antonio Spurs maybe taking a look at Lauri Markkanen, especially with how good he has been so far in Eurobasket. Now, look, Eurobasket is not the NBA, right? The defensive schemes, the tape, the film, the way that the longevity over the years, the playoff series, all those things, where you're just kind of cycling through teams. Some teams aren't as well equipped as others, so on and so forth. But Lauri Markkanen has been absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he's playing like all-time great like basketball right now. He's averaging over 40 a game. This is the start of Eurobasket. His pedestrian game was 26 points and 13 rebounds. He had like a 43-point game when the tournament actually started. He was averaging over 40 points during the exhibition games. The guy has just been on an absolute tear, playing, and just shooting the lights out, doing all that stuff. I don't really think he's a number one option on a championship NBA level team or roster, but I think as like your third, fourth option, I think you're absolute money. I think you're probably one of the better teams in all of basketball, if not the best team in all of basketball. Also, looking at the Spurs, you can make an argument the biggest kind of like position need is the 4 spot. Right? Like Jeremy Sohan, I know a lot of Spurs fans really want him to kind of step in and play that role, but unless he really takes strides shooting the basketball, I don't know if you can have him as your starter. You keep him off the bench and in a bench role, right? Carter Bryant's probably still a couple years away. You can go with Harrison Barnes, but I also don't hate the idea of Harrison Barnes at the 3. Devin Vassell, you probably would have to trade to go get Lauri Markkanen, and I'll touch on that here in a moment. But big problem with Lauri Markkanen is just his contract, right? He's making, $46 million. So you'd have to match that salary. And yes, I do think that there is some arguments to consolidate, but my problem is that like, I don't think Lauri Markkanen is worth 46 million. Like if he was 30, maybe 35, still probably, but like, cause he's being paid as if he's your second option and you just maxed out a De'Aaron Fox. If you didn't max out, like if say you would have given De'Aaron Fox $30 million a year, now I think there's the argument, okay, like because De'Aaron Fox, you got cheap enough, maybe you make that move for Lauri Markkanen, consolidate things, kind of get a higher end guy, him as like your third or fourth option. Like I mentioned, you're probably the best team in basketball. I mean, the guy can shoot the lights out from 3-point range, 7-footer, can slot in 3 through 5 for you. It's kind of more of that 3-4, but him slotted alongside Victor Wembanyama would be ridiculous. You can run that 5-out offense. Imagine having De'Aaron Fox kind of be able to create that dribble penetration, operate in the mid-range, do all that stuff, and you just have the entire floor spread with Lauri Markkanen and Victor Wembanyama out there, out on the perimeter, ready to just, get a pass delivered and be able to rise and shoot over the top. That length, that size, all of those things I think would be fantastic. But it's just, again, he's being paid so much that I don't know if I don't know if it makes sense for the Spurs to do that. And that's kind of the problem that Utah's in, right? Utah's paying him way too much money and they've been trying to trade him. Thing is, though, is that like, I don't think, so one, I wouldn't want the Spurs to necessarily go trade for him right now. Right? I would want to see, 1, can he stay healthy? 2, right? What does he look like in the NBA this season? And then 3, you want to kind of evaluate and see which guys make the most sense if you're the Spurs, right? You want to kind of like, right now it's like, okay, Devin Vassell's probably the odd man out, Keldon Johnson, things like that. But like, what if Devin Vassell's just really good for you? What if Stephon Castle ends up becoming the odd man out? Or, Dylan Harper just he's not what we thought he was going to be right out the gate. And it's like, do we really want to be patient? Do we want to look to maybe package him in a trade next up? Right? There's a million things, right? Maybe it's De'Aaron Fox at some point because Dylan Harper really is everything that we thought some and then some. And it's like, man, maybe we need to package De'Aaron Fox. And maybe you're swapping De'Aaron Fox for a Lauri Markkanen or something because it's just like Lauri Markkanen makes more sense now than De'Aaron Fox, right? And if we have to pay a guy, right, rather pay a guy that makes more sense, right? I want to see the Spurs be patient and kind of evaluate and see how things play out before you go and jump on that. But, next offseason or maybe at the trade deadline, if he has a really good season, or maybe at the trade deadline, if you're close and it's like, man, do we kind of go make a push for it? Maybe you go make a splash and go land a Lauri Markkanen and just see maybe it's enough to immediately raise the ceiling for you and now you can be in those conversations or whatnot, or if like, you know, hey, we clearly have a need at the 4, like let's go get Lauri Markkanen and, you know, Devin Vassell's the odd man out and Keldon. So let's turn Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson into Lauri Markkanen and you still have a lot of guys, right? I don't think, the other thing is too, I don't think you would have to give up a lot for Lauri Markkanen. I don't think you should give up a lot for Lauri Markkanen. You'd be doing Utah a huge favor helping them get off of Lauri Markkanen's contract, right? So to me, it's like, you know, match salaries. If you need to throw in, you know, we'll just use Sohan as an example. Let's say Sohan, he isn't what you want him to be this season. He is still struggling to shoot the 3 ball. And it's like, you know what, let's just send him to Utah where they can kind of develop him, right? And it's like you're doing something like Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and Jeremy Sohan for Lauri Markkanen. And now you're adding in Lauri Markkanen. You got that starting 4. And my problem, again, wouldn't be this year or even necessarily next year, right? Because, like, this year, you basically paid everybody that needs to be paid. Next year, you would give Wemby the contract extension, but it wouldn't actually kick in until the following year. And then, you know, Jeremy Sohan, you're going to have to pay this offseason anyway, so if you unload him, you kind of justify, like, then that's some of the cap there. It's going into that 3rd and 4th year on Lauri Markkanen, where it's like now you got a maxed out Wemby and a maxed out Markkanen and a maxed out Fox. And then the following year, his final year, you're going to have potentially 4 or 5 max guys at that point. And it's like, I don't know. My concern is, would you be able to get off of him later if you needed to? Right? So maybe you make the move, consolidate, and then trust, like, oh, hey, you know, a team might still want, because I mean, he is 28 years old, right? So maybe it's one of those things where it's like, you know, hey, we'd even be okay attaching a pick if it makes sense, whatever. Or maybe, you know, you're putting him in a Giannis trade, right? Next offseason, it's like, hey, Giannis is available and he wants to come to the Spurs, so let's package Lauri Markkanen into that, right? Like, I wouldn't hate that idea. To me, it just depends. But real quick, to get into the stats here for a moment, you got to keep in mind last year, right? Utah, I mean, you want to talk about, I don't know how they weren't fined. You want to talk about a team that just like packed it in and sat everybody? That was Utah. So he played 47 games last year, but it probably would have been in the 60s had he actually played, and Utah didn't just like purposefully tank. But 31.4 minutes per game, 15 field goal attempts per game, 42.3% from the field. He shot on 8.5 attempts, so great volume, but he shot 35% from 3-point range, which is not great. But the 2 previous years on 8 attempts shot 40% and then 39%. So can he get back to that, especially playing alongside of De'Aaron Fox? He wouldn't be the number 1 option, right? That could be something. 2-point range on 6.4 attempts, shot 52.5%. EFG of 52.1%, shot 88% from the free throw line on 4 attempts. Grabbed 6 rebounds, 1.5 assists, a steal, half a block, and 19 points per game. If you can make it happen, if you can get a Lauri Markkanen, I wouldn't hate it. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions. As always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.